The ship was cold. Not the kind of cold that came from broken heating systems, but the kind that came from being far away from any sun. Commander Ho sat in his small cell, his back against the metal wall. He could feel the vibration of the alien engines through the floor. They were taking him somewhere, and he knew exactly where. The Empire had been at war with humanity for 7 years. 7 long years of battles, death, and suffering on both sides. There were tall creatures, standing almost 3 meters high. Their skin was pale blue, and their eyes were large and completely black. They had 4 arms and moved with a grace that made humans look clumsy. But what made them truly terrifying was their queen. Queen had ruled for over 200 years. She was old by any standard, but her mind was sharp, and her heart was harder than the metal walls of this prison ship. Stories said she had never shown mercy to any enemy. Stories said she enjoyed watching her prisoners suffer before they died. Ho closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He was not afraid. Fear was something he had left behind many years ago on a small planet where he had lost everything he loved. His wife, his daughter, his home. They had taken all of it in a single night of fire and destruction. But he was not here for revenge. That was the strange part. He was here for something else entirely. The door to his cell opened with a loud hiss. 2 guards stood there, their weapons pointed at him. They did not speak. They never spoke to prisoners. They simply gestured for him to stand and walk. Ho stood slowly. He was not a young man anymore. 43 years of life had left marks on his body. There were scars on his arms and face from old battles. His hair had started to turn gray at the sides, but his eyes were clear and calm, like a lake on a windless day. He walked between the guards, down long hallways made of dark metal. Other prisoners watched him from their cells. Some were human, some were from other species that had also fought against the. They all had the same look in their eyes, the look of people who had given up hope. Ho did not share that look. He walked with his head held high, his steps steady and sure. The guards seemed confused by this. They had seen many prisoners walk this path before, but none of them had walked like this man. Finally, they reached a large door. It was different from the others, decorated with symbols that Ho recognized as royal markings. This was the throne room. This was where Queen waited. The door opened, and Ho stepped inside. The room was huge, big enough to hold 1,000 people, but it was empty except for one figure sitting on a throne at the far end. Queen looked exactly as the stories described her. She was tall, even for and her blue skin was darker than most of her kind. She wore robes of deep purple, and a crown made of some black metal sat on her head. Her 4 arms rested on the sides of her throne, and her black eyes watched Ho as he walked toward her. He stopped about 10 meters away from the throne. The guards pushed him to his knees, but he did not resist. He simply knelt there, looking up at the queen. For a long moment, neither of them spoke, studied him like a scientist studying a strange insect. She had seen many human prisoners before. They all reacted the same way. Some begged for their lives. Some screamed and cursed. Some cried. Some tried to attack her and died quickly. But none of them had ever looked at her the way this man was looking at her now. His eyes were not filled with fear. They were not filled with anger or hatred. Instead, there was something else in them, something she could not understand. It was almost like kindness. No, that was impossible. No prisoner had ever looked at her with kindness. "You are Commander Ho," said finally. Her voice was deep and cold, like wind blowing through a cave. "You destroyed 3 of my battleships at the Battle of Korra 6. Ho nodded slowly. "I did." "You killed over 10,000 of my soldiers." "I did." Leaned forward slightly. "And yet you do not seem afraid. You do not beg. You do not cry. Why?" Ho was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that made freeze in her seat. "Because I am not your enemy, your majesty." The words hung in the air like smoke. The guards shifted nervously behind Ho, their weapons ready, but raised one of her hands, signaling them to wait. Not my enemy, she repeated. You have killed my people. You have fought against my empire. How can you say you are not my enemy? I have fought in a war, Ho said simply. But war does not make us enemies, it makes us opponents. There is a difference. Stared at him. In 200 years of rule, she had never heard anyone say such a thing. Enemies were enemies. That was the way of the universe. You fought them, you killed them, or they killed you. There was no middle ground. You speak in riddles, human, she said. I do not have time for riddles. Then let me speak plainly, Ho replied. I know about your son. The change in his expression was small, but Ho saw it. A tiny flicker of something in those black eyes. It might have been surprise, it might have been fear. It was gone as quickly as it had appeared, but it had been there. The sun was dying. It had been dying for almost 50 years. In another 100 years, maybe less, it would collapse completely. When that happened, the would freeze. Billions of would die. Their entire civilization would end. This was the great secret of the empire. This was why they had been conquering other worlds so aggressively. They were not building an empire. They were looking for a new home. How do you know about that? Asked. Her voice was still cold, but there was something else underneath it now. Something that sounded almost like desperation. It does not matter how I know, Ho said. What matters is that I am here to help. Laughed. It was not a happy sound. It was the sound of someone who had forgotten how to feel joy. Help, she said. You want to help after everything we have done to your people, after we destroyed your colonies, after we killed your families. Ho's expression did not change. Yes, he said simply, I want to help. Stared at him for a long time. She had lived for 200 years. She had seen wars and peace, victory and defeat. She had ruled an empire and watched it slowly begin to die along with her son. But she had never, in all that time, seen anyone like this human. Why? She asked finally. It was not a demand, it was a genuine question. Ho looked up at her, and his eyes were filled with that strange thing she could not understand. That impossible kindness. Because, he said, someone has to be the first to stop the cycle of hatred. Someone has to be the first to reach out a hand. It might as well be me. Did not know what to say. For the first time in 200 years, the queen of the empire was completely speechless. 3 days passed on the prison ship. Ho remained in his cell, but things had changed. The guards no longer pushed him or treated him roughly. They seemed almost careful around him, as if they were not sure what to make of this strange human. Queen had not killed him. That alone was enough to make everyone confused. The queen always killed important prisoners quickly. She would take whatever information she needed from them and then end their lives. But Ho was still alive, still sitting in his cell, still looking at everyone with those calm, kind eyes. On the 4th day, the guards came for him again. They took him to a different room this time. It was smaller than the throne room, but still impressive. There was a long table in the center, and Queen sat at one end. She gestured for Ho to sit at the other end. He sat down slowly, his eyes never leaving her face. She looked different today, tired perhaps, like someone who had not slept well in many nights. Ho knew that feeling. He had felt it many times during the war. I have questions for you, human said. Her voice was still cold, but there was less force behind it now. You will answer them. I will answer what I can, Ho replied. His eyes narrowed. You do not get to choose. I am asking and you are answering. That is how this works. Ho smiled slightly. It was not a mocking smile. It was the smile of someone who understood something that others did not. With respect, Your Majesty, he said, that is not how truth works. I can only tell you what I know. I cannot tell you what I do not know, no matter how much you ask. Was quiet for a moment, then she leaned forward. Where are the main human military bases? I do not know the current locations, Ho said. They move them every few months. I have been a prisoner for 6 weeks. The bases will have moved at least twice since then. How many ships does the human fleet have? When I was captured, we had about 400 combat ships, but new ones are built every month and old ones are destroyed. The number changes constantly. Made a sound of frustration. You are not being helpful. I am being honest, Ho said. Is that not more valuable? The queen stared at him. She had interrogated hundreds of prisoners over the years. They always lied at first. Then when the pain became too much, they told the truth. But this human was not lying. She could tell. After 200 years, she had learned to recognize lies, and Ho was not lying. Why did you let yourself be captured? She asked suddenly. Ho raised an eyebrow. What makes you think I let myself be captured? Because you are Commander Ho. You destroyed 3 of my battleships. You are one of the best military commanders the humans have. And yet you were captured on a small transport ship with only 6 guards. That was not an accident. For the first time, Ho looked impressed. You are very intelligent, Your Majesty. Answer the question. Ho was quiet for a long moment. He looked at the table, at his hands, at the walls of the room. Then he looked back at. I let myself be captured because I needed to speak with you, he said. And you would never have agreed to meet with a human commander under normal circumstances. Speak with me about what? About your son, about your people, about the future. Felt something cold move through her chest. Fear. She had not felt fear in many years, but she felt it now. This human knew too much. How did he know about the son? How did he know about the danger her people faced? Who told you about our son? She demanded. No one told me, Ho said. Our scientists figured it out. They have been watching your star for years. They noticed the changes. They calculated how much time you have left. And you came here to what? To laugh at us, to watch us die. Ho's expression became very serious. No, Your Majesty, I came here to offer help. Slammed one of her fists on the table. The sound was loud in the quiet room. Stop saying that, she shouted. Stop pretending you want to help. Humans do not help. We are enemies. We have always been enemies. Why? Ho asked quietly. The simple question stopped anger like water putting out a fire. She stared at him. What do you mean, why? Why are we enemies? Ho asked. Do you even remember how this war started? I do not. I have asked many people and none of them can tell me. Some say it was a border dispute. Some say it was a misunderstanding about trade. Some say it was just fear, fear of the unknown, fear of something different. Was quiet. She tried to remember how the war had started. It had been almost 7 years ago. There had been something, an incident, ships firing at each other. But who had fired first? She could not remember. She had never thought to ask. Does it matter how it started? She said finally. It started, people died, that is what matters. You are right, Ho agreed. People died on both sides. My wife died. My daughter died. Millions of humans died. Millions of died. And for what? For a war that nobody can remember starting. Felt something strange happening inside her. Something she had not felt in a very long time. It was like a wall cracking. A wall she had built around her heart many years ago. Why do you look at me that way? She asked suddenly. Her voice was different now, softer, almost confused. What way? Like you are not afraid, like you do not hate me. Everyone hates me. Even my own people fear me, but you look at me like. She stopped, unable to find the words. Like you are a person, Ho offered. Stared at him. A person. When was the last time anyone had looked at her like she was just a person? Not a queen, not a monster, not an enemy, just a person. I look at you that way because that is what you are, Ho continued. You are a person. You are a leader who is trying to save her people. You have made hard choices. Some of those choices have caused great pain, but you made them because you believed you had to, because you thought it was the only way. How do you know what I believe? Asked. Her voice was barely above a whisper now. Because I have made the same choices, Ho said. I have ordered attacks that killed thousands. I have sent young soldiers to die in battles I knew we could not win. I have done terrible things in this war, Your Majesty, just like you have. Then how can you sit there so calmly? How can you look at me with those eyes? How can you not hate yourself for what you have done? Ho was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was full of a deep sadness. I do hate myself sometimes, he admitted. Every night I see the faces of the people who died because of my orders. Every night I wonder if I could have done something different, if I could have saved more lives, if I could have ended this war sooner. He looked up at and she saw tears in his eyes, human tears. She had never seen a human cry before. She had not known they could. But I have learned something important, Ho continued. Hate does not bring back the dead. Anger does not heal wounds. The only thing that can save us now is understanding. The only thing that can end this war is if someone is brave enough to try something different. And you think you are that person? Asked. I do not know, Ho said honestly. But I am willing to try. I am willing to risk my life for the chance to end this war, to save both our peoples. Because if I do not try, then all those deaths mean nothing, and I cannot accept that. Sat back in her chair. She felt exhausted. This conversation had taken more out of her than 100 battles. She had expected to interrogate a prisoner. Instead, she had found herself being questioned about things she had never thought to question. I need time to think, she said finally. Ho nodded. Take all the time you need, Your Majesty. I am not going anywhere. The guards took him back to his cell, but as he left, called out to him. Human, she said, Ho. He turned back to look at her. Thank you, she said quietly, for being honest. Ho smiled that strange, kind smile again. Thank you for listening, Your Majesty. That is more than I hoped for. Then he was gone, and was alone with her thoughts. For the first time in 200 years, the Queen of the Empire was not sure what to do next. A week passed, then another. Ho remained on the prison ship, but his situation had changed completely. He was no longer kept in the small cell with the other prisoners. Instead, he had been moved to a guest room. It was still guarded, but it had a bed, a window that showed the stars, and even a small bathroom. Queen came to see him every day. At first, she told herself it was just to get more information. She asked him about human culture, about human history, about how humans thought and felt. Ho answered all her questions patiently and honestly. But as the days went on, the questions changed. Found herself asking about smaller things. What did humans eat? What music did they enjoy? Did they have families? Did they love? Ho told her about Earth, the human. He described blue oceans and green forests, mountains covered in snow and deserts that stretched for thousands of kilometers. He told her about cities full of millions of people, about small villages where everyone knew everyone else. He told her about his own life, about growing up in a small town in Korea, a country on Earth, about his mother who had made the best food he had ever tasted, about his father who had taught him to be kind even when kindness was hard, about his wife who had laughed at all his bad jokes, about his daughter who had wanted to be a star pilot when she grew up. When he talked about his family, his voice changed. It became softer, sadder, but also somehow warmer. Found herself leaning forward to listen, caught up in stories about people she had never met and never would meet. You love them very much, she said one day. I still love them, Ho replied. Death does not end love, it just changes it. Did not understand this. In culture, death was final. When someone died, you mourned them for a short time and then you moved on. You did not keep loving them. That would be weak. That would be foolish. But watching Ho talk about his family did not see weakness. She saw strength. A different kind of strength than she was used to. The strength to carry pain and still move forward. The strength to remember and still hope. One evening came to see Ho without her guards. She had never done this before. It was dangerous, she knew. This human had killed thousands of her soldiers. He could try to hurt her. He could try to escape. But somehow, she knew he would not. She trusted him. That was perhaps the strangest thing of all. She trusted this human enemy more than she trusted most of her own advisors. Ho was sitting by the window, looking at the stars. He turned when she entered and smiled. "Your Majesty, you came alone tonight." "I did," said. She sat down across from him. "I wanted to talk without others listening." "About what?" Was quiet for a moment. She looked at Ho, really looked at him. His face was lined with age and worry. His eyes were tired but kind. His hands resting on his knees were the hands of a soldier, strong, capable of violence, but also gentle. "Why do you look at me differently, human?" she asked finally. Ho tilted his head slightly. "Differently from what?" "From everyone else, from every other person I have ever met." His voice was low, almost a whisper. "My own people look at me with fear. They see a queen, a ruler, a symbol. My enemies look at me with hatred. They see a monster, a killer, a threat. But you look at me like none of that matters." "Because it does not matter," Ho said simply. "How can you say that? I am all of those things. I am a queen. I am a killer. I have done terrible things." "Yes," Ho agreed. "You have, but those are things you have done. They are not all of what you are." Felt something breaking inside her. That wall around her heart, the one she had built so carefully over 200 years, was crumbling. She tried to hold it together, but it was no use. "What do you see when you look at me?" she asked. Her voice cracked slightly. "Tell me honestly." Ho was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, and his words were like nothing had ever heard. "I see a woman who has lived too long with too much responsibility. I see a leader who loves her people so much that she has sacrificed her own happiness to protect them. I see someone who has made herself hard and cold because she thought that was the only way to survive." He paused, then continued softly. "I see someone who is tired, so very tired. Tired of war, tired of death, tired of being alone. I see someone who is afraid not of dying but of failing, of letting down the billions of people who depend on her." Felt tears forming in her eyes. Did not cry. It was considered shameful, a sign of weakness, but she could not stop the tears from falling. "How can you see all of that?" she whispered. "We have known each other for only a few weeks." "Because I have felt all of that myself," Ho said. He reached out and took her hand. His fingers were warm against her cool blue skin. "I know what it is like to carry a burden so heavy that it crushes you. I know what it is like to send people to die and then have to live with that choice. I know what it is like to be so alone that you forget what connection feels like." Looked down at their joined hands, a human and an enemy holding the hand of an enemy. It should have felt wrong. It should have felt dangerous. It felt like coming home. "I cannot accept this," said. "I cannot accept that you came here to help us. Nobody does that. Nobody helps their enemies." "Why not?" Because it is not how the universe works. The strong conquer the weak. The powerful destroy the powerless. That is the way it has always been." Ho shook his head. "That is one way, but it is not the only way. Humans have learned this lesson many times throughout our history. We have fought terrible wars against each other. We have committed horrible acts, but we have also learned to forgive, to rebuild, to reach out to former enemies and make them friends." "That is impossible for us," said. "They have never forgiven an enemy." "There is always a first time," Ho said. "Every new path starts with a single step." Pulled her hand back. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there was her dying son, her frightened people. "Even if I wanted to accept your help," she said, "my people would never agree. They hate humans. They have been taught to hate humans from birth. They would see any alliance as betrayal." "Then teach them something new," Ho said. "You are their queen. You have the power to change things." "Change is dangerous. So is staying the same. Your son is dying, Your Majesty. In 100 years, maybe less, you will be frozen. Your people will die, all of them. unless something changes. Turn back to face him, and you think humans can save us. I think humans can help you save yourselves, Ho said. We have technology that could stabilize your sun. Our scientists have been working on it for decades. It was originally designed to extend the life of our own star, but it could work for yours too. Felt hope flicker in her chest. It was a feeling she had not felt in a very long time. Hope was dangerous. Hope could hurt you. Why would humans share such technology with us? She asked. Because we are not monsters, Ho said. Because we do not want to watch billions of people die when we have the power to help. Because ending this war and saving your people would be the greatest achievement in human history. It would prove that we are more than just fighters, that we are capable of compassion, even for those who have hurt us. Was quiet for a long time. She thought about everything she had learned, everything she had believed, everything she had been taught. And then she made a decision that would change the history of two civilizations forever. Tell me more about this technology, she said. Tell me everything. Ho smiled. It was the smile of someone who had just seen the first light of dawn after a very long night. With pleasure, Your Majesty, he said, with great pleasure. The next few days were filled with talks, explanations, and plans. Ho told everything he knew about the solar stabilization technology. He was not a scientist himself, but he had studied the basics before his mission. He knew enough to explain how it worked and why it could save the sun. The technology was called the Star Anchor. Human scientists had developed it over 50 years, working in secret on distant research stations. The idea was simple in concept but incredibly difficult in practice. The Star Anchor was a series of massive devices that would be placed in orbit around a dying star. These devices would inject carefully controlled streams of energy into the star, slowing down the process that was causing it to die. It was not a permanent solution. It would not make the star live forever, but it could add hundreds, maybe thousands of years to its life. Enough time for them to find a better answer. Enough time for generations to live and grow without fear. Why did humans develop this technology? Asked one night. They were sitting in her private chambers now. She had invited Ho to leave his guest room and join her for meals. Her advisors had been shocked, but she had ignored their concerns. Because we were afraid, Ho admitted. Our own sun is healthy now, but it will not last forever. Stars are born and stars die. That is the nature of the universe. We wanted to be prepared. So you have this technology ready to use? Yes, we have tested it on smaller stars. It works. Leaned back in her chair. She was thinking, processing everything she had learned. As a queen, she had to consider all possibilities. She had to look for traps, for lies, for hidden dangers. Why did you not offer this technology to us before the war? She asked. Ho sighed. It was a heavy sound full of regret. We tried, he said. Before the first shots were fired, before everything went wrong, we tried to make contact with the government. We wanted to open talks. We wanted to share what we knew about your son and offer our help. What happened? Your advisors refused. They said it was a trick. They said humans could not be trusted. They said accepting help from aliens would make them look weak. Ho shook his head sadly. Pride. It was pride that started this war. Felt a cold feeling in her stomach. She remembered those early days 7 years ago. She had been dealing with internal problems at the time. A rebellion in one of the outer colonies. Political fights among her advisors. She had let others handle the human situation. I did not know, she said quietly. My advisors, they never told me about the human offer. I know, Ho said. That is why I am here now. I am telling you directly. Why did you not try again, after the war started? We did try many times, but by then the hate was too strong. Our messages were ignored or answered with weapons fire. Our diplomats were killed. Eventually, we stopped trying. Stood up and walked to the window. She did this often now, looking at the stars, looking for her home. We were fools, she said. My people, my advisors, me. We let pride destroy any chance of peace. It is not too late to change, Ho said. That is why I came. That is why I let myself be captured. Because I believed that if I could just talk to you, just make you understand, we could still save both our peoples. Turned to look at him. You risked your life for this. You gave up your freedom, your position, everything, just for the chance to talk to me. Yes. Why? After everything we did to your people. After we killed your wife and daughter. Ho was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. Because would have wanted me to. Because would have wanted me to. They did not believe in hate. They believed in love, in kindness, in giving people second chances. If I spent my life seeking revenge, I would be betraying everything they stood for. Tears ran down his face. She did not try to hide them anymore. In front of this human, she had stopped pretending to be strong. You are a remarkable person, Ho, she said. I have lived for 200 years, and I have never met anyone like you. I am just a man who is tired of war, Ho replied. A man who wants to see peace before he dies. Made her decision in that moment. It was not a careful, considered decision made after weeks of planning. It was a decision made from the heart, from somewhere deep inside her that she had forgotten existed. I will accept your help, she said. I will end this war. Ho stared at her. For a moment, he seemed unable to believe what he had heard. You mean it? Yes, I will speak to my people. I will tell them the truth about our son and about the human offer. I will ask them to trust me one more time. They will resist. Many of them will not want peace. I know, but I am their queen. I have led them through wars and crises for 200 years. They will listen to me, and those who do not listen, I will convince them. Ho stood up and walked toward her. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Queen and commander, alien and human, two people who should have been enemies but had become something else. There is something I need to tell you, Ho said. Something important. What is it? My capture was not just my idea. It was planned by the human government. They knew I wanted to try for peace. They gave me permission to try. They gave me information about your son, about the star anchor technology, about everything. Felt surprise, but not the angry kind. Your government wanted peace too. Yes, they are tired of this war just like I am, but they could not make the first move publicly. If they had offered peace and been rejected again, it would have made them look weak. So they sent me in secret. They gave me a chance to open a door that they could not open themselves. So humans have been working toward peace all along. Some of us have, not everyone. There are humans who want the war to continue. There are humans who hate thee and want revenge. But many of us, maybe most of us, just want the fighting to stop. Nodded slowly. It was the same among her people. Some wanted war, some wanted peace, and most just wanted to live their lives without fear. What happens now? She asked. Now we contact my government. We tell them you are willing to talk. We begin negotiations. It will not be easy. There will be people on both sides who try to stop us. There will be setbacks and failures. But if we are committed, if we do not give up, we can make this work. And the star anchor, your technology. It will be offered freely. No conditions, no demands, just help given because it is the right thing to do. Felt something warm spreading through her chest. It took her a moment to recognize what it was. Hope, real, genuine hope. Ho, she said, I have a question for you. Yes. When this is over, when peace is made and my people are saved, what will you do? Ho thought about it. It was a question he had not allowed himself to consider before. He had not expected to survive this mission. I do not know, he admitted. I have spent so long fighting and planning and sacrificing. I do not know what peace looks like anymore. Reached out and took his hand, just as he had taken hers weeks ago. Perhaps we can learn together, she said. Ho looked at her. This tall, blue-skinned alien queen who had been his enemy. This woman who had sent armies to destroy his people. This person who had somehow become his friend. "Perhaps we can," he said. Outside the window, the stars continued their endless dance. But for the first time in 7 years, those stars seemed a little brighter, a little more full of possibility. The war was not over yet. The hard work was just beginning. But in that moment, in that room, two people from different worlds made a promise to each other. They would bring peace, no matter what it cost. The announcement was broadcast across the entire empire. Every planet, every station, every ship received the message at the same time. Queen's face appeared on billions of screens, and her voice echoed through countless speakers. "My people," she said, "I speak to you today not just as your queen, but as one speaking to another. What I am about to tell you will be difficult to hear. Some of you will be angry, some of you will be afraid, but I ask you to listen. I ask you to trust me one more time." She told them everything. She told them about the sun, about the 100 years they had left, about the future of ice and darkness that awaited there. She told them that the government had known for 50 years and had kept it secret because they did not want to cause panic. The reaction was exactly what it expected: shock, anger, fear. Across the empire, people stopped what they were doing and stared at their screens. Some cried, some screamed, some refused to believe. But was not finished. "There is hope," she continued. "There is a way to save our world, our people, our future, but this hope comes from a place you will not expect." She told them about Ho, about the human who had let himself be captured just to talk to her, about the conversations they had shared, about the technology that humans had developed to save dying stars. "The humans are offering us help," said, "freely, without conditions, without demands. They are offering to save our sun because it is the right thing to do." The empire erupted. On every world, on every station, arguments broke out. Many refused to believe it. Humans helping, it had to be a trick. It had to be a trap. But others were not so sure. They had been fighting this war for 7 years and they were tired. They had lost children, partners, friends. They had watched their young soldiers die on distant battlefields for reasons they did not fully understand. And now they were learning that their own son was dying, that everything they had fought for might be lost anyway. Maybe some of them thought, maybe peace was worth trying. The human government had been waiting for this moment. They had been watching the broadcasts, hoping that Ho's mission had succeeded. When they heard his announcement, they sent their own message. Admiral 1, the commander of the human fleet, appeared on screens across human space. She was an older woman, her hair gray and her face lined with years of worry, but her eyes were bright and determined. "People of Earth and all human colonies," she said, "we have received a message from the Empire. Queen has expressed a desire for peace. She has asked for our help in saving her people from a dying sun." One paused, letting the words sink in. "Some of you will ask why we should help those who have hurt us so deeply, why we should offer compassion to those who showed us none. It is a fair question. We have all lost people we loved in this war. The pain is real and it is valid." Her voice became softer but no less strong. "But we are humans. We have always been at our best when we choose love over hate, hope over despair, creation over destruction. We have a chance now to do something remarkable. We have a chance to end a war without winning it. We have a chance to save billions of lives. We have a chance to prove that the universe is not just about strength and power, but about kindness and compassion." Across human space, people watched and listened. Many of them cried. Many of them felt something they had not felt in a long time: pride. Not the pride of victory, but the pride of doing what was right. The peace talks began 2 weeks later. They were held on a neutral space station, far from both human and territory. Delegates from both sides met in a large conference room, sitting across from each other at a long table. Ho was there, sitting beside Admiral 1, was there, surrounded by her most trusted advisors. For a long moment, no one spoke. The weight of history pressed down on everyone in that room. Then stood up. She walked around the table, past the surprised looks of the delegates, until she stood in front of Ho. "Commander Ho," she said, her voice carrying across the silent room. "You came to me as a prisoner. You offered me hope when I had none. You showed me kindness when I deserved none. You believed in peace when everyone else believed in war." She held out one of her 4 hands. "I cannot undo the past. I cannot bring back those who have died, but I can promise you a different future. A future wherein humans live as allies, not enemies. A future where we build together instead of destroying." Tears were falling from her black eyes, tears clear as crystal. "We accept your help," she said, "and in accepting it we offer our friendship. Today the war ends. Today something new begins." Ho stood up and took her hand. His own eyes were wet with tears. "Your Majesty," he said, "on behalf of humanity I accept your friendship, and I offer ours in return. Let this be the first day of a new age, an age of peace, cooperation, and hope." The room erupted in cheers and applause. Delegates from both sides were standing, clapping, even hugging each other. 7 years of war, and it was ending with a handshake and tears of joy. The work that followed was long and difficult. The star anchor technology had to be transported to space. Engineers from both species had to work together to modify it for the sun. There were problems, setbacks, moments when it seemed like the whole thing might fall apart. But it did not fall apart, because on both sides there were people who believed in what they were doing, people who were willing to put aside old hatreds and work toward something better. 1 year after the peace talks, the star anchor was activated. The sun, which had been slowly dying for 50 years, began to stabilize. Scientists predicted it would now live for another 2,000 years at least. There were celebrations in the streets. People danced and sang and cried tears of relief. Their world was saved. Their future was secured. And standing on a balcony overlooking the celebration, watching the joy spread across her planet, Queen felt something she had not felt in 200 years. Happiness. Ho stood beside her. He had become her closest friend, her most trusted advisor. Some whispered that there was something more between them, but neither of them cared about whispers. "You did it," Ho said. "You saved your people." Shook her head. "We did it together, humans, and without you this would never have happened." She turned to look at him, and her black eyes were filled with warmth. "I asked you once why you looked at me differently," she said. "Now I understand. You saw something in me that I could not see in myself. You saw the person I could become, not just the monster I had been." Ho smiled. It was the same kind, gentle smile he had given her in the prison cell all those months ago. "I never saw a monster," he said. "I only saw a queen who needed someone to remind her that she was also just a person." Reached out and took his hand. They stood there together, watching the celebrations below, as 2 civilizations began to build a future that neither had ever imagined possible. In the end, it had not been weapons or strength or power that saved them. It had been something much simpler, something that humans had known for thousands of years but often forgot. Compassion. The willingness to see an enemy as a person. The courage to offer help without expecting anything in return. The belief that even the deepest hate could be transformed into friendship. That was the lesson humanity gave to the stars. And the stars remembered. For thousands of years afterward, the story was told. The story of a human commander who let himself be captured to bring peace. The story of an alien queen who found the courage to change. The story of 2 people who proved that the universe did not have to be a place of endless war. It became known as the Day of Extended Hands, and on that day every year humans gathered together to celebrate, to remember, to give thanks. Because in the end, that was what it meant to be human. To reach out, to help, to believe that tomorrow could be better than today. And to make it so,